Chat, we are back. Bye. Listen, bro, you guys are loving these intros. We're gonna keep them intros coming, baby. Come on now. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys drop that sub. What you doing, bro? You already here, you enjoying the video. I made you laugh in the beginning of the video. Just drop the sub. We're so close to 3,000 subscribers. You guys are amazing, but not that amazing because, like I said, 95% of you guys are unsubscribed. So once again, what you doing? Make sure you guys drop that sub. But today I got an actually pretty interesting video planned. For the first time, we're gonna be covering my boy Wanted on the channel. We're gonna be going into great detail as to why ASHE is honestly pretty underrated. I'm gonna be talking about positioning. I'm gonna be talking about aim, and honestly everything that has to do with ASHE's kit. So breaking it all down for you guys, just so you guys can get a pretty good perspective as to what it takes to be good with ASHE. Now, what you want to do when you're playing ASHE is you want to be careful with one primary thing that a lot of people seem to get wrong, and honestly I quite miss sometimes too when I play ASHE, is that at the end of the day, Sojourn is gonna basically have the upper hand. Now, when it comes to any hit scan in the game, Sojourn is always gonna be more powerful. But there's one thing ASHE has up her sleeve that kind of gives her the advantage versus Sojourns, as we just see boy here Wanted gets railed by a Sojourn, right? And this advantage is that pretty much in general, you have a lot more crowd control than Sojourn. The reason being is that when you're on ASHE, you have your Dynamite and you have your Bob, which is your ult. I'll talk about in the end of the video, or towards the end of the video. Specifically with ASHE, you don't want to just be targeting DPS and squishes only. Actually, targeting the tank, throwing out your Dynamite near the tank where other supports are going to be close by is also very viable. You just want to be there for the team, providing as much AoE as possible. Other words, just providing damage for the entire team. Sojourn doesn't have that ability. Sojourn is great for picks. So for example, if you're on Sojourn and you're missing your shots and you're not dealing that much damage, you're not going to be providing crowd control. Where ASHE, she can actually provide a lot of crowd control with her Dynamite. So that's something that makes her pretty powerful. Another thing your Dynamite is actually good for is in fact giving you the ult charge. Dynamite provides you with so much ult charge. So what I tell a lot of people do is make sure you practice your Dynamite throws. What this means is that you jump in a game, you throw your Dynamite, and then you hit it. Make sure you're practicing that, because here's the thing, with ASHE, even if you miss a lot of your left clicks, which is basically your primary fire in other words, it's okay, it's not a big deal, because at the end of the day you can still get that Dynamite out, do that extra damage, and in general Dynamite is going to do more damage than your left click anyways. But where the real value comes is when you actually jump in, land your Dynamite, and land your left clicks. That's where real pros come in. Now you guys are probably familiar more with this even from Wanted streams, or J3, who's in a way an ASHE main, doesn't really only play ASHE but is pretty good with ASHE. So I'll definitely say you guys watch those people and make sure you familiarize yourself with the general kit, how it's used, and how you can land your Dynamite hits, because that's honestly the hardest thing in my opinion. General left clicks are not that hard on ASHE, whereas like for example Sojourn rail is a lot harder to land, etc. Now let's move on to your ult here. Like I promised you guys, I'll talk about it towards the end of the video. Your ult on ASHE is one of the most powerful things you have in your kit. Now it can also be one of the hardest in general to use, because when it comes to your ult and using Bob, it's in a way another player. Honestly, a pretty powerful player. I like to think of Bob as a tank. I mean, you have 930 HP that can be healed and that can be damage boosted. You have to keep that in mind. I don't think a lot of people are aware of the two. You can actually damage boost the Bob on Mercy or heal, etc. Suzu, lots of things, right? But obviously Bob is there for a very limited time before he goes away. So definitely keep these things in mind. But what you want to do here with Bob is you want to throw Bob in an off angle. The reason I say that is, for example, here's one way of looking at it, right? If you throw Bob between you and the enemy team, there isn't much space, right? I don't know if that makes sense. There isn't much space for you to go. So you have to be behind the Bob. Therefore, the Bob will take a lot of damage and get evaporated. This is seen a lot in top 500 games where people have a lot of good aim. So you throw your Bob, Sojourn is just charged up with a Mercy pocket. She just rails your Bob out of existence in 2 seconds. So to avoid that, what you want to do here is you want to make sure that you are throwing your Bob in an angle that actually forces the enemy team to turn around from you and to hit the Bob, meaning they would have to sacrifice their line of sight of shooting your team to kill the Bob. Don't throw the Bob right in front of you, which puts the Bob between you and the enemy team, because that's right in their line of sight, meaning the Bob is just going to get evaporated. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense, but once again, that's pretty hard to do because you have to target it in a way that your Bob doesn't end up in a back room where it's completely useless, which is once again the case for a lot of people. And even me, when I started playing ASHE for the first time, the biggest mistake I was making is when I threw in my Bob would just go in the middle of nowhere and have no value. Now, once again, like I had to mention it, you're in a 5v5 meta, meaning you have only one tank on the field. Imagine another tank that can deal as much damage as Bob, that once again can be healed and damage boosted, that if you land in the right position can be extremely powerful. On the other hand, Bob is one of those ults that actually takes a lot of effort to build up. So it's definitely not easy to build up Bob, and you actually have to put in a lot of work into it, which is why, once again, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, is that if you land your dynamite hits, you throw it into the air, you land your left click, or sometimes even you might get fancy with it and use your shift, which bounces you back, but I'll talk about that in a second, it's very valuable. That's honestly the best way to put it. It's very valuable. You definitely want to do that, right? Now next, let's move on to this one, which is going to be a pretty good one to go over, and noticing how Wanted plays with this skill. And J3, anyone who's pretty good with ASHE at the moment, Wanted has never really played ASHE that much. He only switched recently. He's a Cassidy main if you guys are not aware. But anyways, your left shift skill is very useful in the sense you are getting dove. For example, a Genji dives on you, you use your shift, and here's the key part. It doesn't just distance you from them, it throws your enemy target into the air. So it bounces them back, and it bounces you back too. So your distance is increased double, right? Whatever it is doubled, because you're getting pushed back and they're getting pushed back the other way. Now here's the key part. When you hit your enemy targets, they're in the air. And the thing about Overwatch is that whenever you jump, whenever you're in the air, whenever you get bounced back or booped back, whatever you want to recall it or call it basically, is that your movement is very predictable. With ASHE, shooting a predictable target is ridiculously easy. So what a lot of people do is that even if they don't want the enemy target to get booped back because they're trying to chase them down, is they'll shoot the enemy target so they get thrown into the air or tossed up, and in doing so, it makes hitting them a lot easier. I don't know if that makes sense, but honestly, that's a huge tip that I myself have been using recently, and it's pretty useful. But yeah, that pretty much kind of covers everything on my boy Wanted. Definitely do check him out. Honestly, he's a pretty funny streamer. He's been thriving ever since Overwatch 2 released, and honestly, he does deserve it. So definitely do check him out. All the links will be in the description. As always, if you guys enjoyed, definitely do consider subscribing. I'm mixing it in with some face cams as well, making sure you guys are enjoying it with some laughs and jokes. So if you guys do, definitely do consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for all the support. You guys are honestly amazing. All the comments, I read every single comment, so make sure you guys do drop a comment. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and take care. Peace.